Last night, I went and saw Oppenheimer. Now, there's been a lot of buzz already about this film being Oscar worthy and the like. Christopher Nolan has a track record of just doing amazing films. Of course, we know him from Inception, Memento, his Batman movies. He's done an amazing job. Actually, I think my favorite one he's done is The Prestige. If you've not seen that one, definitely go and check that out. So he is a cut above most directors in what he does. He picks things that really just open up your mind philosophically. It makes you think in the movies, and most movies don't do that these days. And that's something that Oppenheimer also followed in doing. So Oppenheimer is, I mean, I hope you know this already if you're watching this, is the scientist who created the atom bomb, and this is his story. This is what happened during the creation of the atom bomb, and then afterwards. It was actually I like couched in a congressional hearing, and it looks like at the beginning you're like, okay, so there's this congressional hearing. It's in black and white, and you look at it and you're like, okay, what's happening here? And here's some of the black and white images from the film right here. And that hearing is actually about this man right here. He is going to be confirmed as like Secretary of State, and they're doing a confirmation hearing. It's not even about Oppenheimer, but behind closed doors, there's another hearing going on. There's two. And they go back and forth between each other. And Oppenheimer is getting accused of being a communist in the McCarthy era. Now, they didn't go too far into like the, oh my gosh, it's so terrible, everybody's being accused of communists sort of witch hunting, which you would expect Hollywood to do. They actually couched it pretty reasonably. I mean, the people who were actually accused of being communists in the film were actually card-carrying Communist Party members. And in 2023, maybe people are not afraid of that, but there was and there still is an attempt to subvert our nation by the Communist Party. Now it's China doing it rather than Russia, but I digress on that fact. So there's an actual threat going on that, and the people who were talking about the communists were not portrayed as straw man, witch hunting crazies, which you would have expected. And I appreciate that Christopher Nolan did that. That actually made it feel a lot more real. These characters were pretty three-dimensional. And this man right here actually orchestrated this entire thing to discredit Oppenheimer just because of a personal grudge. And it comes back to bite him at the end of the film. And it's really about that personal story, and the actual atom bomb tests and all that are going back in sort of time, and going back through the recollections of memory, and of course, seeing what happened from that perspective. Now, this was about 3.5 hours long. It was pretty long as a film, and I think it probably could have been shorter. I say this almost about every film these days, though. I feel like directors these days are pushing the lengths of film a little too much. But I did not get bored and check my phone once during this film. That's a big, big accomplishment. And a lot of that is because of the use of sound and music. He actually used this like almost string tuning sort of thing where it felt like horror movies at point where you're sitting there, and it builds tension so much that even just people talking back and forth in scenes where they're actually good close-ups like you see of me seem like they're like pretty action-packed and tense. There's not a lot of action in this film, but it was very dramatic at the same time. And there's a lot of really just close-up, back and forth close-up scenes where people are talking back and forth, and there's a lot of drama between characters, drama with the political angles. I mean, there's so much politics that's going on, just both within the project and within the U.S. government, and of course on the communist front too. So, and it's all building up. Now, when it actually gets to the atom bomb test, Christopher Nolan did a beautiful, beautiful thing. He actually stopped the sound, and you hear people breathing, or Oppenheimer breathing, as he's like, it's that lag between what you're seeing when the explosion happens, and then the blast when it hits you, because sound travels slower than light. And so they actually do that at a couple points throughout the film. And once it's during the blast, and once it's he's starting to have regrets about doing this because a lot of people died. It was a horrific thing that happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And he starts to build a conscience about that, and becomes an activist to try to stop nuclear weapon proliferation, and that's what causes his troubles against the U.S. government later. So builds up very nicely. There's a lot of personal drama in this, and you learn a ton about the characters. You see the start of this from the Berkeley labs, where they're just like theorizing about this, to when they actually just quickly build a town in Los Alamos. Now, despite the fact that it's 3.5 hours long, the pacing is really interesting. It feels very disruptive, and you're jumping from one scene to the next, and they're almost speaking quicker than usual in movies. I don't know if that's just a perception thing, but that happened through this. And what that feels like to me is, I think Nolan was trying to communicate the whirlwind of all this happening in the middle of World War II, how fast this all came about, how we went from like nothing to just theory to, oh my gosh, we have a nuclear bomb in just a couple of years. I mean, if you think about just the innovation and the craziness, and how that all that happened, it is really a miracle that happened over that sort of speed. And when you're in a hearing and people are questioning you, you do have that sort of disjointed, like, oh gosh, like I don't remember. And like, it was such a whirlwind kind of thing. And that's exactly, I think, what he was trying to communicate through that. The sound is very important. I would actually go see this in theaters, because the music, the little pauses with the breaths and the sound, the explosion sounds, I think that's going to be, it's such an immersive experience. I think it's going to be much better in a theater than it's going to be on a home screen later on. So I think this is one of those movies that you do want to see in a theater. Cinematography is absolutely beautiful, and the acting is off the charts. The main actor here just did an incredible job. His wife, who played throughout this, was like really, really wonderful. That's actually not her. That's his sort of mistress that he's hanging out with. And there's a crazy scene where she ends up killing herself because he won't see her anymore. It's really sad. There's the lady who plays his wife. Wonderful, wonderful job on that front. Matt Damon did a great job too as the general. I mean, everything across the board just fired on all cylinders in this movie to just be wonderful. It is absolutely Oscar worthy. Now, the one thing I'd say that was kind of a miss on this is the whole culmination of the personal plot, where the communist sort of allegations were being made against him, and he's losing his security clearance. It actually went for about half an hour after the buildup of all the explosions and the atom bombs and all that. So like that climaxed like half an hour before the actual climax on the personal level hit. So you kind of felt like you were done with the movie, like, and it should have been a denouement that was a quick sort of thing at the end, and it actually just kept going and going and going. So there's the one qualm I'd say on the pacing, and probably on just the structure of the film, that I would say, okay, well, maybe this could have been done a little bit differently. I have to think that Nolan did this intentionally, though, because there's so much intentional imagery, there's so much intentional just dialogue and so much intentional just ways of filming to create this feel and really to get you thinking about things. Now, I don't know if this is going to do so great with a general audience, because it's very long and it's very philosophical. It sits there and makes you think about just actually the physics of things. It makes you think about relationships. It makes you think about like the proliferation of nuclear weapons. It's a very heavy film in that regard, and it's very philosophical and it's esoteric, which I like. I don't know. I like to think of myself as a smart person, so I enjoyed that on this sort of level. But I don't know if on a general audience level it's going to resonate kind of the same way. But like I said, I recommend seeing it in theaters just because I think that immersion is very important. To me, this is a 10 out of 10 film. I talked about the issue at the end of it, but honestly, like, I was happy to have the resolution and actually learn more about Oppenheimer and those trials. And of course, the Secretary of State confirmation trial that was going on along with that made the whole political angle sort of necessary. So it was beautifully done all the way around. Acting just wonderful. The music especially, the sound effects, well done. And the filming was beautiful too. So great movie. And I hope this review was good for you. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.